This isn't the coolest $1 bill in history, but you probably still recognize it. The money of the United States is iconic, and none more so than the US $1 bill. On the observe side, or the front face of the note, we see the first president, George Washington, depicted in what is perhaps the most recognizable painting in the country. While on the reverse, or the back side of the note, we see all of the familiar iconography, the US seal, the pyramid with the all-seeing eye, and an ornate dark green border encompassing it all. This bill has remained the only note unchanged since its design was introduced in 1963. If we compare it with other bills that we use today, you can immediately see the difference. The 5, the 10, the 20, the 50, and the 100. You can see the way that all of these notes have evolved from the design being used in 1963 to what they are now today. But the dollar alone and by itself remains evergreen, a symbol of stability in a world often at odds. But this was not always the case. First US dollar bills were originally issued in 1862. Let's compare that first note with our current one. We can see similarities between both the observe and reverse sides of both notes. We have the prominent portraits on the observe, lots of official-looking seals and numbers, and an ornate border taking up most of the reverse side of the bill. Over the years, very few things have changed. George Washington was added and centered on the note in 1869, and incremental changes have brought us up to where we are now today. But one shining light breaks this mold and shows us just how beautiful our money could actually be. In 1896, the United States issued silver certificates alongside their Treasury notes. While the everyday use was essentially the same, the main difference between these two was that silver certificates were redeemable for their face value of silver dollar coins, and this lasted until 1968. So in 1896, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing ordered a new design for the silver certificates, and for a brief printing run, the United States produced this. Let's look at it side by side with our $1 bill. It maintains some of the motifs. It has ornate borders, official numbers, and seals, but the rest of the design sets itself distinctly apart from every other currency note that we've looked at. On the observe, instead of the standard centered portrait, we see a beautiful painting entitled History Instructing Youth, which was designed by American painter Will Hickok Lowe. The personification of history holds a child closely as she points his attention to the background where, across the Potomac, we see the Washington Monument and the Capitol building. In the foreground, this is framed on the right by the Constitution of the United States. Surrounding the note is a list of names of various people that were important in bringing the United States so far in such a relatively short period of time. Leaning on this personification of history, the youth is gazing forward in anticipation of what the future holds. It is as if history is urging the child to observe and take measure for when he has his chance. History is a great teacher. On the reverse, we have something new as well. Instead of a single portrait of a founding father, we see a founding couple, Martha Washington in the portrait to the left and George Washington in the portrait to the right. Martha Washington became the first woman depicted in U.S. currency a decade earlier, but here I feel like something different is happening. Depicting the Washingtons side by side is a recognition of the role that they both played in founding the United States. They are equals and partners, and neither could have accomplished what they had without the other person. They were truly the first family. This U.S. note is unique in its imagery and its complexity. Along with the $5 and $10 silver certificates of the same 1896 run, they complete what I believe to be the coolest U.S. currency to ever exist. And while the current U.S. $1 note is iconic and unchanged, I believe it is this note that we should remember. A singular moment in the history of our country that shows us just how amazing our money could be. Thanks for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed learning about my favorite dollar. If you did enjoy it, consider checking out some of these other videos or subscribing to the channel.